Welcome back to your latest industry recap and update on an Emirates A380 which was grounded, Swiss looking to potentially offload a specific aircraft type, and some coverage on an airline that once had it all, now not so more, that is Aeroflot. Beginning with Swiss, who are weighing up the future of their Airbus A220-100 operations. I'll have to apologise, I will be using Swiss A220-300 footage due to limited B-roll of the Dash 100. So between me and you, let's just pretend it's the Dash 100. Either way, speaking in an exclusive interview for Aviation Week, Clarissa Kunz, the airline's head of aircraft assessment management, shared insights into the thought process behind the smaller variant. Fleet data shows that Swiss has 30 of the A220s delivered. This is mixed between the two variants. 9 of the A220-100s have been delivered with an average age of 8.4 years. There are just 7 of these aircraft active, with 2 units listed as parked. The Dash 300 is the variant of the two, with a greater reliance placed on it. Now, while the A220 remains an integral part of the Swiss business, the future of its smallest variant is uncertain, with ongoing discussions to determine the best approach and fleet mix for the network's structure in the coming years. The executive stating that both variants were also selected for specific reasons. Look no further than the A220-100, chosen due to its capabilities of flying into London City Airport, which has a steeper approach. The executive concluded by saying that while new opportunities are going to continue to present themselves, a decision to confirm the phasing out of the A220-100 had not yet been reached, but was very much being explored. Since Airbus took over the C-Series, branding it the A220 and beginning to obviously produce the plane itself, there have been question marks over the A220-100's purpose across the industry, and just really how much of an appeal it has. While the aircraft works in specific markets, it suffers the same fate actually as many other next-generation programs, where one variant is often disregarded for the more superior one. This is seen with the A330neo, the 777X, and even at times the 787. Additionally, analysts have often pointed towards performance metrics that are available, which show the A220-100 doesn't stack up as a worthwhile investment for most airlines due to its operating costs in comparison to the larger model. All in all, any doubts that may have surrounded the A220-100 are always going to be compounded by the challenges the broader series has faced. Not necessarily because there is something inherently wrong with the production practices, but rather looking towards the Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engines. These engine complaints have been present in our industry for many years, and for many operators they haven't eased to a level where operations can be smoothened out, presenting financial and network complications, and in the case of Swiss, forcing them to look potentially elsewhere at a better fleet mix moving forward to benefit their day-to-day flying. Next on the list is some coverage at Aeroflot, an airline once covered quite extensively, now, like I said, has changed quite a fair bit and is struggling significantly due to conflict, sanctions, and other challenges. And there's a fresh problem. The Russian airline is now facing, not for the first time, accusations over financial fraud stemming from a former director of fleet development planning, reportedly then informing Russian media agency TASS as per law enforcement, according to the charge under Part 4 of Article 160 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. The embezzlement or misappropriation involved an immense scale, amounting to approximately 48 million USD or thereabouts. Much of the attention surrounding this latest problem centers on an agreement signed by the former executive for 28 Airbus aircraft. These deals signed between 2016 and 2018, which were organized with a host of lessors that made the deal possible in the first place. The aircraft included in the contracts were the A320 and the A321, which operate some of your short to medium haul flights and certainly benefit from the single aisle operations of the business. Now the audit reveals several related risks associated with payments for financing the Airbus planes. Additionally, decisions made by the former executive, who was arrested on charges of fraud years ago, were not made under other areas of the business. Instead, he acted in his own interests. Aeroflot has definitely experienced its fair share of fraud-related incidents over the last half-decade, with some individuals being involved, sentenced to imprisonment as well. But on the topic of being a changed carrier, what has happened? Well, since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, there's been a lot of change, and it now stands as an almost unrecognizable carrier. Over the last, say, 3+ years, airspace bans and a suspension of the airline's position in the SkyTeam alliance have rendered its most profitable networks and global routes impossible to serve. Additionally, from an aircraft standpoint, the company has struggled with its fleet, certainly in securing new planes from aircraft manufacturers as intended. However, this has not occurred, and instead the Russian carrier has been looking towards the leasing market to keep its fleet alive. The airline has attempted to source aircraft, but due to expiring leasing agreements and insurance settlements, there's been a challenge in also maintaining aircraft that have long been part of the business. Moreover, the fleet has faced fresh challenges as the days have continued, certainly focusing in on the maintenance. As Russia has been isolated from the world, Aeroflot has gone as far as cannibalizing its aircraft in a bid to keep its active fleet in the air for as long as possible, while at times relying on specific countries that it had good relations with to help the issues that needed solving. But by no means is the fleet where it once was, and certainly over the last 3 years, a global carrier that was once seen in all corners of the globe, such as Los Angeles, and played a role in tourism for Russia and trade, it's been forced to shift its priorities primarily to domestic passenger services. Over to the final story, and an Emirates A380 actually spent a week in New York following an encounter with engine complications during a routine flight. A6-EUW and Emirates A380 operated flight EK203 between Dubai and New York JFK on the 28th of June, before encountering engine issues just prior to landing. Around 2 hours out from the arrival into the East Coast city, it was reported the crew were forced to shut down the left-hand engine due to an issue emerging. The Aviation Herald breaking further details in their own report, where the aircraft was obviously able to complete a safe landing utilizing runway 22L just before touching down, declaring an emergency. Details on the issue remain scarce until complete investigations take place. However, it was noted as engine number 1, this being a Rolls-Royce Trent 972, the pilots shutting it down to confirm before landing. While the aircraft was able to land safely, thankfully, with over 400 passengers on board given the engine complication, A6-EUW was then temporarily grounded until inspections could be conducted. These inspections were completed to ensure the aircraft was in working order to eventually fly back to the airline's home base, where if the situation arose, there would be further work to be required on maintaining the aircraft. So, after spending just over a week on the ground in New York and receiving the necessary clearance, the plane returned to Dubai on July 5 as a ferry flight. Thankfully, the aircraft was then cleared to return to service on July 6, with Flight Radar 24 data showing that A6-EUW has been in consistent service across the airline's network since then. Let me know your thoughts on any of the stories down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. It definitely means a lot. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you soon.